Pokemon Brick Bronze was an experience that highlighted many Roblox players' childhoods, including mine. The game was very well made considering the time it was created and had a lot of thought and care put into it. But what made this game so special? And why is it so memorable to this day? Well, my name's Kylo Cooper, and let's talk about Pokemon Brick Bronze. Now, what is Pokemon Brick Bronze? Pokemon Brick Bronze was a game created by Lando64 and T. Brad M. The game was made October 21st, 2015, and grew to massive popularity in 2016, with popular YouTubers making all sorts of content on the game. The game was basically your standard Pokemon game with 8 gyms and a bunch of Pokemon to discover. However, something that was actually interesting was that it featured every single Pokemon in the game, even featuring a variety of different legendaries as well. The game also was centered around a Pokemon that came out around the time called Hoopa. Now, this game for me and many others was an experience that most Roblox players didn't forget. The game had something that most games at the time didn't have: a story. It was a journey that took you through the land of Roria, exploring the vast world and the Pokemon within it. The game was an instant classic and a memorable one at that. So, with that all out of the way, let's start at the very beginning of our journey. Starting off our journey, we are introduced to a small cutscene in our bed. This is where we get to choose our name. I conveniently chose the best name I could come up with, and after that, we leave our house and meet our rival Jake. Jake as a character is outgoing, charismatic, and caring. He is a very important character to the story, which we'll talk about later. Anyway, after that, we get to meet our parents, who are Pokemon researchers. We then have to make our way to the Pokemon lab, where we get to pick our first Pokemon. Now, something that's very interesting about this game is that it lets you pick any starter that you want. I decided to pick my favorite starter and Pokemon that I used when I first played this game, Torchic, or more specifically, Hashtag as I named it. After selecting Hashtag, we fight Jake and his Eevee, and after the short battle, our parents give us a necklace called the Brick Bronze. Well, with that all out of the way, it's finally time to begin our Pokemon journey. And our parents got kidnapped. Instead of grieving over the loss of our parents, we continue strong and make our way to Chestnut Town. And immediately, we get taken advantage of and robbed. Now, most Pokemon trainers when they start off their journey are roughly 10 years old. Legit, the minute you start your journey, you lose your parents, and then you get robbed, and they take the only thing that your parents gave you. That's messed up, man. Continuing on, we meet up with Jake and he tells us that he saw her run off into the forest. We fight a few people, easily defeat her, and get our necklace back. We then arrive at our first gym, the electric type gym. Now, something unique I noticed first is that all the gym leaders are actual Roblox developers. The first one of course being Chad the creator of After Flash and Club Boats, which makes sense given the gym is a giant Copacabana. The gym battle isn't that hard whatsoever, probably because he only has 2 Pokemon, but I digress. After we beat him, we learn that Jake is going to challenge him as well, and we move on. After the first gym, we meet up with the creator of Death Run, who, ironically enough, teaches us how to run, and then just dies? How are we not traumatized by any of this? Well, anyway, before we can make our way to the next town, we come across Jake again, and this time we have to battle him. I think my main problem with this battle is that Hashtag fell asleep for most of this fight, but then once he got up, we were all good. After that battle, we are then introduced to the Brimber City gym leader. The gym leader this time around is Platinum Falls, the creator of those mass-produced obby games that were really popular back then and are still relatively popular now. We learn that Team Eclipse has arrived and stolen a red orb and ran off towards the volcano. We basically go and slaughter Team Eclipse, and this is where we come across the first of Team Eclipse's admins, this one known as Harry. After our battle, he uses the orb and summons Groudon, which as a kid, this freaked me out. At the time, I had just played Pokemon Omega Ruby, so seeing Groudon in this game blew my mind. Well, after Groudon was summoned, he scares off Team Eclipse and then just goes back to sleep. We then have to face off against the Fire Gym Leader. Now, keeping on brand with Platinum Falls being a obby creator, the gym challenge involves jumping over obstacles to make your way up to the gym leader. The gym wasn't too hard, but his high-level Magmar at the end was a tough opponent to fight. Alright, so this is a segment I was planning on having a little farther down, but I think I'll just mention it here. So, something I really liked about this game is that the creators that are involved in it. Each gym leader and just some characters in general are actually just Roblox creators. In the game, whether it's through gym challenges or dialogue, each has small references to the games those creators worked on. This made me honestly really nostalgic for all those old games, and honestly really happy that they were implemented, serving as a sort of treasury of all of those old classic games in one game. So we continue our journey into Route 7 where we come across a high tide keeping us from progressing forward. We notice a small group of Bidoofs in the way, and instead of trying to move them ourselves, we go and beat up a bunch of lumberjacks who are supposed to clear the Bidoofs. We then make our way to Lagoon Town where you can breed your Pokemon and do the submarine expedition thing for fossils. Continuing forward, we then make our way to Route 8. Now, this is where Jake follows you around, and honestly I was convinced this was going to introduce double battles, but it didn't. This route was especially annoying, however, because it just had trainers all over it. Once we make it past Route 8, we then enter Rosemore City, where we learn that Team Eclipse is also here too. We then come across what I like to call the Bridge of Doom. It's a giant pier going down out into the sea with a ton of trainers scattered across it. And at the end lies the King of the Bridge, who when defeated, gives you one of the best items in the game. We then begin to make our way towards the lighthouse. We have to fight off some Team Eclipse grunts until we arrive there. We then meet Team Eclipse admin Gabe. He is here looking for a special orb that can be used to summon Kyogre. We have just begun our journey, and Team Eclipse has already attempted to take over 2 extremely powerful Pokemon. Anyway, we begin our battle, and at first I was doing fine until I lost Hashtag, which made this fight insanely tough. I brought out Luxray, and he was basically carrying the entire fight. It was a close match, but in the end, we defeat Gabe, and then he summons Kyogre. We then get another good cutscene and watch as he throws the orb into the water. Kyogre comes over, Gabe gives a little speech, and then Kyogre just blasts this guy, which he somehow lives, but I'll get back to that later. Anyway, the old man thanks us, and this is where we finally get introduced to our new partner, Tess. Tess isn't exactly a rival, but you can tell that she's based off of a certain character, and so is her party. Tess decides to join us on our journey, and Jake, upon first glance, falls in love instantly. After all of that, we then have to head over to face off against the water gym. The gym is ironically run by Quentin, who is the developer of a game that I used to play called Whatever Floats Your Boat. After defeating him, we then meet up with Professor Cypress, who informs us about Team Eclipse and how they are after an ancient Pokemon that can create worlds. So, after that, make our way to the next route. Making our way over to the next route, we meet up with Jake and Tess. We watch Jake try to flirt with Tess, fail, and then Tess does the weirdest thing ever. She legit says, "I want to see who is strongest, so you guys fight." It's really random, mainly because we have just met, but I have no problems with absolutely decimating Jake's entire team. Anyway, we then enter Route 10 and get put into another cutscene where we come across Absol. Now, as a kid, Absol, one of my favorite Pokemon, in a cutscene was really cool to me. However, now that I realize that the model uses a Roblox hairpiece as its fur, it's a little weird, but still cool. We then make it to Kragon Mines. Now, this is an area I remembered very well from the original. Climbing up the minecart tracks in this dark cave and making your way to the small opening was really nostalgic for me. Then, once we make it to the top of the mountain, we meet up with Jake and Tess and board an airship to Anthean City. Something I should mention is that the guy who made Skybound, another old Roblox game that I used to play a lot of, is the guy who takes us there on the ship. Jeez, I'm just really old, huh? We then arrive at Anthean City. Now, this to me was one of the most iconic places in this entire game. In this city, you had access to the hoverboard, megastones, and different types of Pokeballs. It was safe to say that this place was pretty important. We then meet up with Tess and have a really long cutscene talking about Team Eclipse. The basic gist is, they want to find a powerful Pokemon to create another world. They took my parents because they know how to find that strong legendary Pokemon, and we need to stop them. But first things first, we have to get our priorities in check because we have to face off against the gym leader. This time, the gym leader is Crazy Man 32. Now, I actually have no really clue who this guy was, but after doing some research, he was an old Roblox creator that made a lot of games related to flight. So it's only natural that he was the flying type gym leader. His gym battle was pretty tough, mainly because I didn't have anything to deal with his ace Pokemon, but after that long battle, we were able to earn our 4th gym badge. Upon exiting the gym, we get a small cutscene of a massive airship flying by Anthean City. We soon realize that this is Team Eclipse and they have arrived on Anthean City. We meet up with Tess and Gerald and are learned that Jake ran after Team Eclipse in order to battle them. Tess and I decide our best way to make it over to them without being noticed is to take the underground sewer. After a trip through the sewer, we finally arrive at the Park District. Upon arriving, we find Jake surrounded by Team Eclipse members. Jake, in a desperate attempt to save our parents, he went and fought Team Eclipse and was defeated. And then we learn who the leader of Team Eclipse is. Professor Cypress. Professor Cypress honestly makes a pretty interesting villain. Upon his introduction as leader, he tells us his motives. He believes that Pokemon and trainer do not share the same respect for each other, how Pokemon are more dedicated towards their trainer than trainers are towards Pokemon, stating that he cannot stand trainers who mistreat their Pokemon. You can honestly tell from this alone that Professor Cypress has a deep care for Pokemon, which makes a lot of sense. Pokemon professors are the people who care and research about Pokemon and are responsible for entering trainers into the world of Pokemon. As a professor, Professor Cypress helps trainers find their starter Pokemon to set them off on their journey. So it's only natural that he feels some sort of responsibility for the trainers he set out into the world and their actions towards their Pokemon. He then reveals to us his master plan. Instead of starting a world war to free all Pokemon, he wants to create a new world where Pokemon would be free, and all he needs to achieve this is Hoopa. Now, I'm not going to explain a lot about Hoopa, but if you've ever watched the movie, Hoopa is a very chaotic Pokemon, being able to create portals to anywhere he pleases, literally bringing legendary Pokemon just to fight him to show off his strength. So, it's safe to say that Hoopa is an incredibly powerful Pokemon. Professor Cypress then announces that Team Eclipse has left behind bombs on Anthean City's core that are set to detonate, bringing down Anthean City to the land below. With the stakes higher than ever, we challenge him to a battle. Before we initiate our battle, Absol arrives and fights alongside us. Giving the player Absol is honestly a great way to introduce Mega Evolution, especially because Absol is a pretty versatile Pokemon, having a variety of different high damaging moves. Now, this battle is surprisingly really tough. Professor Cypress's team is fully comprised of starter Pokemon, starting off with a Venusaur, then a Feraligatr, Blaziken, Portera, Samurott, and then ending with a Delphox. Once you realize the pattern in how he throws out his Pokemon, it becomes much easier to prepare for, but oh my god, this fight is just so cool! Team Eclipse flees and the bombs activate, and all hope is lost. Until a small glimmer appears coming from out of our necklace. Suddenly, 2 massive portals appear from the sky, and Dialga and Palkia appear. What? So, apparently, this little magic brick that we were given to by our parents has the power to summon the gods of time and space. Okay. Anyway, Palkia uses his powers to suspend Anthian City in the air, and Dialga stops time, sending us to the past. Now, this is where we have to go back through the sewers and make our way to the core. This is where we have to face off against another Team Eclipse admin, Tyler, who ironically is the creator of another classic game, Super Bomb Survival, which is also reflected in the fact that all of his Pokemon explode. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did panic because I only had Absol and hashtag left for my battle with Team Eclipse. But Absol has a move called Detect, which just negates all damage, so it wasn't that tough. Anyway, we get sucked back through the portal and the city is safe. However, Team Eclipse has gotten away with Jake. So, with our friends and family's lives at stake, we continue forward to save the world. Well, that was a lot to go over, but we still gotta continue our journey, so we make our way down the mountain and take the Sky Rail to Route 11. This is where we arrive at Aradia City. We learn that the gym leader is currently out at the ancient ruins near this town, so we decide to go find the gym leader, we meet up with him, face off against some Team Eclipse grunts, and make our way back to the gym. The gym leader this time around is Dummies, with his challenge reflecting his game called The Quarry. After digging around, we find him, face off against him, and I'm not gonna lie, this battle was pretty easy until the end when he pulled out Mega Garchomp, which was pretty tough, but we still managed to beat him in the end. Well, after that, we earn our 5th gym badge and make our way to Route 12. We make our way through Route 12 and end up at Route 13, which is this massive underground cave. Now, I'm pretty sure you can catch Diancie in this cave, but I'm not really sure. Anyway, we arrive in the next town, this being Floroma City, a giant underground city filled with plants and gemstones. We then arrive at the grass-type gym. This time around, the gym leader is Fizzy, the creator of, at the time, Treelands, which is what the gym is based around. You basically build bridges and gather fruit into a basket to lift the drawbridge to face off against the gym leader. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did struggle a little bit with this gym. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. Hashtag basically outsped all of his Pokemon, so I just spammed Blaze Kick and Flame Charge until hashtag fell asleep. And then he got back up and I won! Yay! After the gym battle, we come across Tess and Gerald. They inform us that Team Eclipse's secret base is located on the distant island from Roria known as Crescent Island. We decide our next destination is Frostville, so with our 6 badges under the belt and a glimmer of hope, we make our way towards Frostvale. We make our way through the ancient ruins until we arrive at the top of the cave. Here's where we notice the massive ice formation surrounding the cave entrance. Getting closer, we notice Tess and 3 Team Eclipse members near the entrance. We talk to 2 Team Eclipse grunts as they attempt to recruit us to join Team Eclipse. Listen, I'm not really sure if they know who we are, but Team Eclipse has kidnapped my friends and family, tried to awaken world-destroying Pokemon, and almost blew up an entire city. Not a chance. After defeating the 2 grunts, we then talk to the masked member. He tells us that he is out offering memberships for Team Eclipse. Those who join are granted safe passage to the new world. Which was pretty odd considering that each admin we had met so far was pretty hostile towards us. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Tess has some very good dialogue during this encounter, telling him, "You people really don't think that people in Pokemon can exist in harmony? We really do grow and learn from each other. Why must you destroy everything just to see that?" Then, the masked guy gets a little too specific, almost like he knows us, calling us out by name and telling us that he's only doing this to protect us. That was until Tess asks him how he knows her name. As it would turn out, the masked member of Team Eclipse is actually Jake. Jake, in an act of desperation, join Team Eclipse in hopes of getting us to join as well. This way, we could all make it to the new world safely. Tess and Jake argue for a little bit, Tess stating that we all teamed up together to defeat Team Eclipse. We were going to do whatever it took to stop this horrible tragedy and save the world. Instead, you've given up and joined their side. Jake tells us that he wasn't strong enough before, and now he's doing everything he can to save us, begging us to join him. It's honestly pretty heartbreaking to see him join Team Eclipse. When we first met Jake, he was a good friend that just cared about Pokemon. We traveled together, fought and trained together, and met new friends, which all changed right as we arrived to Anthea City. Team Eclipse ship was flying around the island, and Jake ran by himself to face off against him. However, once we met him, we find that Jake was defeated by Team Eclipse. This, I believe, is where the turning point for Jake's character is. After his defeat to Team Eclipse, Jake loses all hope of defeating them and saving the world. Team Eclipse had mentally broken him down, so in a desperate attempt to save his friends, he joined Team Eclipse, believing that this way he could save his friends and bring them to the new world and protect them. So, without any other choice, we have to battle Jake. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty heartbreaking battle. Going up against Jake, our rival, now our enemy, is tough. But after our battle, all he can say to us is that he's sorry. Then he leaves, leaving Tess and I pretty broken for the loss of our friend. As we continue forward to Route 15, we then come across Latios and Latias, and we are told that we can now catch them in the wild. So, after an emotional battle with our friend, the creators were probably thinking like, oh, okay, so we just put the player through an emotional moment. We gotta quickly change up the tone and make it happy again. What should we do? Oh, I got an idea. Let's give them those weird looking airplane Pokemon things. So they're just like, here, have some legendary Pokemon after beating your friend that betrayed you. Wow, what a great... I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it did make me laugh when I saw this, but anyway, let's move on. We now arrive at Frostvale City. Now, this area was a place I remembered really well. Whether it was because of the location of it, or maybe it's because the only picture I have of me when I was little was with some guy who looked like Domino Kid, or like Domino Kid's rival. I don't really remember, but I remember him fighting this guy, and I was like, oh, that's super cool, something like that. I don't know. If you don't know who Domino Kid is, he was a big Pokemon Brick Bronze YouTuber back in the day and had a lot of legendary Pokemon like Arceus and Palkia. And he'd do these big fights with all these big YouTubers, and it was honestly pretty cool. Alright, well, we meet up with Tess at the entrance to the next route, and she tells us that while we're here, we should go face off against the gym leader. Following the trend of gym leaders with gym challenges based off the gym leader this time around is Zeekers, who at the time made a side-scroller series, hence the side-scroller gym challenge. However, Zeekers is also known for a game which I will definitely be doing a retrospective on called Lightbulb. He also made It Steals and some other games, but let's just move on to what the gym is. So the gym challenge was pretty easy, just some simple parkour. Now we get to the gym battle, and starting off this gym battle, he threw out a Honchkrow, which was the absolute worst. He literally only spammed Feather Dance the entire time, and all he did was just keep lowering my damage, and it was the worst. Everything after that was fine, but that first bit was so annoying. Anyway, we defeat the Dark-type gym leader and get TM Surf. I don't know how that one made sense, but yeah, of course the Dark-type gym leader would give us the Water-type TM. But hey, let's move on. After that, we make our way to Tess. While talking to Tess, she tells us that it's been a while since we've last battled, so she thought it'd be a good idea to battle. Thinking back about how I swept her team, I thought that I would be fine. If anything, this was probably the toughest battle I had in this entire game. Not only did Tess's team just counter my entire team in general, but they were all really high level and just basically one-shot my Pokemon over and over again. So I actually struggled a lot with this battle. We then arrive at Route 16, and this has to be one of the best routes by far. You just hop on your hoverboard and head on down the mountain. It's a pretty fun little route before we make it to Cosmos Valley, which has a few areas, but the most important one that we have to head to now is Port Deca. When we arrive at Port Deca, we find Tess with T-Brad. He gives us some information about Crescent Island, and we head over to the beach. This is where we meet up with a fisherman and ask him to take us to Crescent Island. So the plan is that Tess rides on a boat, and I have to surf on one of my Pokemon to get over there. I did not have a single Pokemon that was a water type that could learn surf whatsoever. So after I get my level 10 Tentacruel, I surf my way through Route 7. If you do not have max repellent to make your way through this route, I'm sorry. This is an actual nightmare and I hated every second of it. So we arrive at Crescent Island, a pretty run-down town with pirate ships all around, and it's kinda cool. But we can save the sightseeing for later because we gotta find Tess. Walking around, we notice a Team Eclipse grunt and follow him to what seemed to be a bar. We pull one of the cogs on the juice barrels and it opens up a secret elevator. And we end up in the Team Eclipse base. It has all come down to this, our final battle with Team Eclipse. We have arrived in Team Eclipse's base and now we have to find Tess. After making our way to the security room, we find out that Tess has been captured alongside of our parents and is being held in the prison. Once we arrive, we realize that it's too late and Team Eclipse is taking them away. Upon following them, we make it to the hangar. This is where we learn that Team Eclipse has gathered all the information they need and are now ready to summon Hoopa. Upon leaving, Jake stays back and we have our final battle. Now, the only thing really noteworthy about this is that Jake's team now has a Delmise, which is cool, but we still defeat him and chase after Team Eclipse. We have to make our way over to Route 18, which is this swamp area of Crescent Island. I don't really understand why Team Eclipse had to fly their ship over here because it's not really that far. And even upon arriving, like, where did they have room to park their ship? I don't know. Anyway, we enter this cave and it has some like creepy ancient ruins with masks all over it. We do some final battles with some Team Eclipse grunts and we make our way to the end of the cave where we see Team Eclipse. We confront Professor Cypress as he says that everything has gone according to plan. He states that there was no easy way to steal the brick bronze necklace from us, so he decided to bring us to him. By kidnapping our friends and parents, he knew that we would go after him. Suddenly, they activate a switch which awakens the portal in the center. Our necklace suddenly flies off of our body and forms onto the portal. A bright light flashes as the chains shatter from the wall. Professor Cypress then throwing a bottle through the portal, and there he is, Hoopa. He goes into this long monologue stating that he now has the power to travel to other worlds, power to control right and wrong, and the power to be the creator of his own reality. We then begin our final battle against Professor Cypress. Now, I should mention that this battle has to be the coolest in the entire game. Professor Cypress's team still consists of starter Pokemon, however, he has completely new ones in a different order that they come out in. This time he has Greninja, Decidueye, Incineroar, Empoleon, Sceptile, and Mega Charizard. Now, I actually struggled with this battle a lot more than a lot of the other ones, including Tess, especially because of Professor Cypress's ace, Charizard. This Mega Charizard was a powerful threat to my team, especially because it had Psychic and Flamethrower. However, once we defeat him, he decides that he didn't even need to fight us because he has Hoopa. He then demands Hoopa to find a pure world in need of ruling. Hoopa then summons a portal leading to another world. He begins a monologue until Jake just runs up to him and throws him into the portal. We then watch as the three Team Eclipse admins follow him through the portal. We then all have to work together to devise a plan to defeat Hoopa, when suddenly the portal grows twice as big. Jake tells us all to run and that he's going to stay behind to face off against Hoopa. Tess and Jake argue, saying that they just got him back. However, the portal's power begins to suck up objects as well. A wooden crate suddenly starts flying at Tess in a last-ditch effort to save his friend. Jake jumps in the way, sacrificing himself and getting sucked into the portal. And then, Hoopa closes the portal, and it's us against him. We then begin the true final battle, face off against Hoopa. Oh, you're still watching the video. Okay, fine. It's not over. Pokemon Brick Run. This isn't the end of it. Okay, so we defeat Hoopa, and then upon leaving, we come across Lando 64. Now, this part has to be arguably the stupidest part in the entire game. He basically comes over and is like, yo, I'm from another universe, and I've just traveled the other universes, and I use the power of Absol to find danger and try to save the other universes. And apparently, while we were on Antheon, he met Jake, and apparently him getting captured was all a part of Lando 64's great plan. So remember everything I said about Jake's character development? That's gone. It's all gone because a character in this game the creator of this game thinks he's Aizen or something like that. There's also an 8th gym, but I bet you could probably guess why I couldn't get to that. Alright, well, that was Pokemon Brick Bronze. Now, this game was honestly amazing to revisit and honestly reminds me why I like Roblox so much. The amount of effort and care that creators put into their games is honestly astonishing. However, as most of us know, this game didn't last that long. Which is why there is another game which I'll be making another video about that follows up after this. But yeah, that was Pokemon Brick Bronze, one of Roblox's most iconic and controversial games. I hope you enjoyed this video and make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.